just gotta listen.
Real talk that we talk about. Always talking.
You just gotta listen.
Yo, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Truth Talks. I am your host, Crazy Bone.
What's happening, Keith G? I thought you forgot who you was for a second or two. It's been that long.
No, but thank y'all for joining us for our very first show of the new year. You know what I'm saying? We happy to be here. Happy that y'all decided to join us and lend us your ears for another go round. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of interesting and informative shows lined up for this year, you know, as always.
Yep.
And we're also going to try something a little different, you know, because since we've been getting such positive feedback from all our subscribers, and some of y'all have been asking us if we can actually make the show longer, 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours long. And here I am thinking an hour was too long.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm like, man, how long is it? Is it too long? You know what I'm saying? But so what we're going to do is we're going to try to pump out 2 shows a week to y'all.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One on Tuesday and one on Thursday. Because, you know, but I know sometimes we're going to try this, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes our schedules get a little crazy, but we're going to definitely do our best to do it because, you know, this is important information. And, you know, on this podcast, we will never run out of interesting topics.
Oh, no.
Ever.
No.
You better believe that.
Not as long as we on Earth.
And I believe that we are in chapter 8 of the book, the Bibles, God's Word of Man. We've actually covered a lot in this book so far, and I think we got like 6 chapters left in this book. But it's a very good book, man. You know, y'all have expressed y'all thanks for us going through this book with y'all, you know, and we got several more, man. We got several more things that we're going to get into along with just some topics we want to talk to y'all about. You know what I'm saying? But again, we thank y'all for lending us your ear right now, and let's get right into it.
Let's go.
And this chapter is a little lengthy, so y'all, you know, get comfortable. Y'all say y'all want them longer, so I didn't do it on purpose, but it's just a chapter and how we got to break it down too. So the title of this chapter is Science. Has it proved the Bible wrong? And it's going to be a real good one. It's going to be a really, really, really good one. Y'all should take notes on this so y'all can go do your own research from the things that we spit out to y'all on here. So it says the chapter intro, it says, in 1613, the Italian scientist Galileo published a work known as Letters on Sunspots. In it, he presented evidence that the earth rotates around the sun rather than the sun around the earth. By doing so, he set in motion a series of events that finally brought him before the Roman Catholic Inquisition under vehement suspicion of heresy. Eventually, he was forced to recant. Why was the idea that the earth moves around the sun viewed as heresy? Because Galileo's accusers claimed that it was contrary to what the Bible says. It is widely held today that the Bible is unscientific, and some point to Galileo's experiences to prove it. But is this the case? When answering that question, we have to remember that the Bible is a book of prophecy, history, prayer, law, counsel, and knowledge about God. It does not claim to be a scientific textbook. Nevertheless, when the Bible does touch on scientific matters, what it says is completely accurate. That's true, bro.
All day.
Now, this scientist, Galileo, back in 1613, did his own research, and he came to the conclusion that the earth actually rotated around the sun and not the other way, like everybody else thought.
Right.
But the Roman Catholic Church called it heresy because they said it contradicted to what the Bible said. And like the Bible says, and like it says, the Bible has never claimed to be a science book, not one time.
No.
But it's really amazing that every time the Bible speaks on something scientifically, it is accurate every single time. It's exact and accurate every single time.
And
it can be proven.
as well as it should be, because I don't know if scientists even understand or know. Scientists are going off of what their hypothesis, they best educated guess. The Bible is going off of what God said. The author of the world anyway, you know what I'm saying, putting all of the cosmics together, you know what I'm saying, all the whole atmosphere is about everything from the rain to the sun to the, you know, the quakes or whatever it is. So, you know, that's it's almost funny to me how the child is always trying to catch the parent in a lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, truth, bro. Gonna keep on reading. It says, oh no. Oh, okay, yeah. The paragraph 2, it says, consider, for example, what the Bible says about our planet, the earth. In the book of Job, we read, God is stretching out the north over the empty place, hanging the earth upon nothing. Compare this with Isaiah's statement when he says, there is one who is dwelling above the circle of the earth. The picture conveyed of a round earth hanging upon nothing in the empty place reminds us strongly of the photographs taken by astronauts of the sphere of the earth floating in empty space. So before these scientists or astronauts had the ability to travel and fly up to space and all that, people had different theories about the earth. You know, some people thought the earth was flat. Yeah. And then, you know, and they also believed that it was something holding the earth, that was holding the earth up. They believed that it was hanging upon something, but that's not what the Bible tells us. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's a statement here that tells you what these people believed. In Hindu mythology, they believe that the earth is supported by 4 elephants standing on the back of a turtle. The Hindu deity Vishnu was reincarnated as the turtle Kachapa that carried the weight of the world on its back.
Now I'll go first. Let me go first.
Go ahead.
I ain't never heard. Now look here, man.
Exactly.
The Easter Bunny, they neck and neck with the Easter Bunny on this one. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't never even heard of nothing like this here. And you'd rather believe that turtles and elephants, you know what I'm saying, is responsible for holding the earth up instead of looking into where it even says in the beginning the earth was void and without form, you know what I'm saying, and darkness. And God said, let there be light. And the spirit of the Lord hovered over the face of the deep, over the water. You know what I'm saying? You rather believe turtles and elephants. As much as an elephant can do some cool little tricks at a circus, he ain't intelligent enough to start no world or a turtle. You know what I'm saying? That's way out, bro.
And keep in mind, while they're making up all these theories and misleading people, God had already told us a long time ago that what shaped the earth was. He already told us a long time ago that the earth was not being held up by anything at all, and that it floats and rotates in place. What happened, bro, it's crazy, because what happened is when man finally did have the luxuries of technology to build a spacecraft to travel into space, what did they find? They found that the earth was really round, just like God said in the Bible. Yeah. And they found that it wasn't being held up by nothing at all. It wasn't no elephants. It wasn't no turtles. Man. It was just like God said. And then there's some people that try to say, there's some people that don't believe that man has actually even traveled to space. They say, no, it's all Hollywood and camera tricks. But you gotta listen to this though. The way these countries rival and compete for world power with each other, like Russia, China, and America, they all wanted to be the first one to get there. Yeah. So if one of them got there and it turned out that it was all fake, those other ones would have been all too happy to expose them and say, it's all tricks. They lied. Yeah. They lied about it. You know what I'm saying? But no, they didn't lie. They worked harder so they could get up there to be the second or the third. You know what I'm saying? So like, it don't make it makes plenty of sense. And what people try to say is, you know what I'm saying, like, it's been proven they've been to space, bro.
Oh yeah, man. You know, I mean, it's pictures. I mean, it's obvious too. We use a cell phone, bro. You know, it ain't no wires on this at all. Somebody went somewhere and hooked up something up there and did some things. You know what I'm saying? I know that happened like that, because look at the technology that we using right now. You know,
most definitely. Reading on, it says, consider too the Earth's amazing water cycle. Here is how Compton's encyclopedia describes what happens. Water evaporates from the surface of the oceans into the atmosphere. Steadily moving air currents in the Earth's atmosphere carry the moist air inland. When the air cools, the vapor condenses to form water droplets. These are seen most commonly as clouds. Often the droplets come together to form raindrops. If the atmosphere is cold enough, snowflakes form instead of raindrops. In either case, water that has traveled from an ocean hundreds or even thousands of miles away falls to the Earth's surface. There it gathers into streams or soaks into the ground and begins its journey back to the sea. This remarkable process, which makes life on dry land possible, was well described about 3,000 years ago in simple, straightforward terms in the Bible. This is what it says. It says, all streams run into the sea, yet the sea never overflows. Back to the place from which the streams ran, they return to run again. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 7, the New English Bible. Now, this is something else that the Bible explained before men had the means to prove it. And again, it's very accurate. It explained the water cycle in very simple terms. It said all streams return into the sea, yet the sea never overflows. Back to the place from which the streams ran, they return to run again. Now, when scientists finally figured this out, they only figured out what God had already told us. They showed up late again.
Claiming things.
They showed up late. God already told us this, but it's good y'all finally proved it to yourselves. You would think that would convince them. No, it don't. We're going to keep on reading. It says, perhaps even more remarkable is the Bible's insight into the history of mountains. Here is what a textbook on geology says. From pre-Cambrian times down to the present, the perpetual process of building and destroying mountains has continued. Not only have mountains originated from the bottom of vanished seas, but they have often been submerged long after their formation and then re-elevated. Compare this with the poetic language of the psalmist. This is what it said in the Bible. With a watery deep, just like a garment, you covered the earth. The waters were standing above the very mountains. Mountains proceeded to ascend. Valley plains proceeded to descend to the place that you have founded them. Psalms 104, 6 and 7. Did you notice how accurate and up to date the comments that the psalmist made in Psalms, bro?
Oh, yeah.
We know how the mountains originated from. We know that the mountains originated from the bottom of the vanished seas, and that they have often they've been submerged for so long that they were submerged long after formation, that then they were re-elevated.
Yep.
And this is the research that these geologists done to prove this. Over the many years, they've done this research to prove exactly what the Bible said. You know what I'm saying? But again, the Bible had already told us way before.
Man.
So again, they showed up late.
And acting like they got some new wisdom, though. That's the part that, really, instead of just accepting, because, I mean, on the reels, bro, if you read the beginning of the word of the Lord, it's explaining to you what he did, his makings of this entire planet. This one here, concentrate on this one. Not is there life out somewhere else? That ain't what he was talking about,
bro.
You know what I'm saying? Concentrate on if you really look at it closely. But see, you have to believe it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what man has a problem with. Because see, the more man believes in the Bible, the less man feel that he is involved in doing this. You know what I'm saying? He has to give glory to someplace else than himself. And man don't like doing that with the spirit that's conjured up against in this world. That's why these scientists keep coming up with things of, you know, how they can make themselves be in charge or be in power of or connected to the existence of things like this here. They come up with the, you know, from tadpole to whatever it is to you was a man, a caveman, then a man, you know, anything and just in the belief that God put men and women here. You know what I'm saying? And came from that. So, you know, this rest, we're going to get to more. I'm actually more impressed than the science stuff that they found than that. I didn't even know they had a dictionary in Compton. Is that what you just said?
Compton Dictionary, baby. Bro, look. And it's crazy you brought up like Genesis. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we about to get into. That's what it's, you know what I'm saying? That's the next paragraph. It's what the next paragraph say. Listen, it says, the very first verse of the Bible states, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Observations have led scientists to theorize that the material universe did indeed have a beginning. It has not existed for all time. Astronomer Robert Jastrow, an agnostic in religious matters, wrote, the details differ, but the essential elements in the astronomical and biblical accounts of Genesis are the same. The chain of events leading to man's commence subtly and sharply at a definite moment in time in a flash of light and energy. So even scientists have come to the realization that the material universe did have a beginning. You know, this astronomer Robert Jastrow said he said that the essential elements in the astronomical and biblical accounts of Genesis are the same. So like I said earlier, you would think by him making this comment, you know, making a comment like this, that he would be a believer in the fact that God is the creator. But
still no.
These man is very hard-headed.
Yeah, man.
Very stubborn and very hard-headed. That's why we are where we are today. You know what I'm saying? But reading on, it says,
yeah.
True, many scientists, while believing that the universe had a beginning, do not accept the statement that God created. Nevertheless, some now admit that it is difficult to ignore the evidence of some kind of intelligence behind everything. Physics professor Freeman Dyson comments, the more I examine the universe and study the details of its architecture, the more evidence I find that the universe in some sense must have known that we were coming. Dyson goes on to admit, being a scientist trained in the habits of thought and language of the 20th century rather than the 18th, I do not claim that the architecture of the universe proves the existence of God. I claim only that the architecture of the universe is consistent with the hypothesis that mind plays an essential role in its functioning. His comment certainly betrays the skeptical attitude of our time. But putting that skepticism aside, one notes that there is a remarkable harmony between modern science and the Bible statement that in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. So a lot of smart people have been forced to admit that a lot of the things in the Bible actually holds up against human science. You know what I'm saying?
And even science itself, you know, even that word hypothesis even came back up again as you was reading. You know what I'm saying? And at their best, that's an educated guess. Science and physicians. That's why they even with physicians, and I'm not going along with this, it relates. You know what I'm saying? Doctors is what I'm trying to say. They even call that a practice. because it's still practicing. It's not a profession. You know what I'm saying? They're still trying to figure out things as such. That's why it's doctor. If you have a doctorate, it's called a practice. They're not professionals. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they know everything that's going down. Scientists either. These guys are trying to examine, and that's why they use that word hypothesis. They're trying to
practice law.
Definitely, definitely. You see how they ain't got, you see that ain't a professional. They
For
professionally sold out law, but with these guys, what they doing is at their best, they trying to use everything in their mind state that stretches their rationality to make a decision for everybody else. That's not how you do things. You do something and something else, and whatever outcome from those things, that's what you get from it. But there is no control A and control B when you're dealing with God. You know what I'm saying? So you can't test his subjects about what things is going on. Instead of these people taking off their arrogance and their self-centeredness and saying, you know what, all I had to do, or even if he wanted to, test it out for himself, just like how you said Mr. Dyson did, you know what I'm saying? You want to check out everything and see how it was. Okay, I came up with this conclusion. So now when you go back and read Genesis, you should be able to accept that. Exactly. But even with all the information that he's compiled and all of his educated guesses, he still can't come up with nothing but... That's what I was
getting ready to say. And
talk to him.
Yet and still, these people refuse to accept that God is the creator. You know what I'm saying? And of all things, I don't care how much research a person does about on creation, all the evidence will lead back to the creator of the universe, Almighty God.
Period. And I like the way you said of all things too, bro.
Of all things, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like these men refuse to accept the fact that God is everything and everywhere for everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if they don't wake up and realize this in the very near future, it's going to end very well for these people. You know what I'm saying? So it's real, but we're going to
even before you dip too, last thing I'll say, the coldest part about these men, and I hope that they change their hearts.
Yeah, we do.
You know what I'm saying? We definitely do that, because I tell you like this, the leader that's leading them, you know what I'm saying, mentally and spiritually, to go into these kind of things, he knows the power of God. He know God made these things. Satan knows because he was created by God. You know what I'm saying? So he knows that God was first and made all these things, made man, made water, the oceans, and all this and that. So he knows that. But what he does is he teaches his little imps and his soldiers that this ain't true, and to go out all your way to discredit what really goes on. That's the coldest part. You working for somebody who knows the truth and won't tell you, and you as hard as workers.
The truth talks. That's a good point. Very good point. All right, getting to the next paragraph. It says, the subheading, it says, health and sanitation. These are the things that the Bible spoke about. It says, consider the Bible's coverage of another field, health and sanitation. If an Israelite had a skin blemish suspected of being leprosy, he was put in isolation. All the days that the plague is in him, he will be unclean. He is unclean. He should dwell isolated. Outside the camp is his dwelling place. Yep. Even infected garments were burned. In those days, this was an effective way of preventing the spread of an infection. And if we stop and think, about it, this book, the Bible has been with us for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
It's been here before everybody living on this earth now. And it has always contained practical wisdom and counsel, not just for our time and generation, but for every single generation that has existed, after the completion of the Bible.
Or
so going back to the paragraph, you see how God gave practical wisdom to show them that if a person got sick and became affected with a skin disease such as something like leprosy, because it was
very common back then.
Very common. Then you were to keep isolated away from everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So you wouldn't prevent this disease. That's called quarantine.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? God introduced this to us, not man. You see what I'm saying? Like we've been doing these things because this is what God told us to do in the beginning. So that's why when we get COVID, everybody isolate. Everybody quarantined. That came way back. God gave us them laws. That's why it's smart to do it.
Yeah.
Because everybody who did that came out on the good side of COVID. Everybody that paid no attention to them, some of them didn't fare so well.
Yeah.
These laws is put into place for reasons to save people's lives. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about, politics was never involved. When God told them that, then none of the people step up and say, oh, man, I ain't wearing no mask. I ain't steering away from him. That's my buddy. None of them said that. They paid attention. And they kept them alive.
Word.
Next paragraph, it says, another important law had to do with the disposal of human excrement, which had to be buried outside the camp. This law, no doubt, saved Israel from many sicknesses. Even today, severe health problems are caused in some lands by the improper disposal of human waste. If people in those lands would only follow the law written down thousands of years ago in the Bible, they would be much healthier.
Yeah.
So this is another example of something that God gave us practical wisdom on. You know, is the way that we should dispose of our human waste, and it was to be buried, and you were supposed to go outside and bury it outside the camp.
You should.
Or whatever.
Hey, look, you definitely should go outside the camp and bury that.
Exactly. and think about it. Why do you think we have the sewer system? The sewer system flushes all the human waste underground to the sewer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that it's properly disposed. Man didn't create this arrangement. God did this.
Yeah.
God told us how. Now, man has definitely, you know, through technology, made it easier with the sewer system. You know what I'm saying? But these are instructions God himself gave us thousands of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
These people are actually, there's people actually living in lands where they get diseases when all they simply have to, you know, they may not be rich, they may not have running water and stuff like that, but they can still remain healthy if they followed the old laws.
Yeah.
They would still be in good shape if they followed them, because those laws are still, those laws still work.
Real talk.
You know what I'm saying? Truth.
Oh, you know, just the whole contradiction of the whole thing. You know, everything that he did implement, because we his humans, and he knew what we needed to be taken care of. You know, all this conversation reminds me of when a mother will say, you know, when you know you got a child to talk back to you, and a mother just looking at you like, before you even knew how to pee off yourself, I'm changing your diaper, and you finna just, this is how you so you know this much more than me. Come on, and what is this, son or daughter? Even if you do know more than your predecessors or your mother or your father, humility shows you when to use it, to not try to upstage nobody. You know what I'm saying? But the way that this thing is going, Satan got these men wanting to be so bad to be a part of, like, I made this and I created this and stuff like that, that these dudes is really believing this. But it's even written, God gonna give them over to a reprobate mind. You know what I'm saying? That means if you want to believe this, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to even give you the power and a delusion to believe that.
Yeah.
That's why these guys keep going with this science, because, science was implemented for a certain reason, of course, but not for the reason to try to pull the veil back. See, God ain't like the Wizard of Oz. You can't pull no curtain back with no little dog Toto and be like, oh, it's just a dude behind there. When you go deep into God, you just gonna find out how powerful and much royal that he really is if you're doing it correctly. These people are they're trying to look for something. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part that's the coldest part about it, and they never gonna find it because there's nothing to find. You're supposed to appreciate the things that he did in 6 days, bro. I can't even walk around the earth in 6 days. I can't even get that far from California to somewhere else in 6 days. And he put this whole thing together. The trees that we give them carbon dioxide, they give us oxygen. You know what I'm saying? He set all that kind of stuff up, you know.
True.
Everything, dog, the wind, The waves, the water, listen to him. The water's like,
Everything.
look, we said we ain't good. God said don't go past this thing. When it does and see typhoons or whatever happens, he allows those things. You know what I'm saying? But nothing goes by his thing. They got a boundary they got to stay at. The water, the salt water don't mix with the fresh water. There's a barrier. They both, and there's a point where they can meet, and then that's that. But they don't go into each other. This is, now you got to understand this. This is water doing what he's saying to do.
Exactly, man. That's, it's proof. It's too much proof. It's too much proof. People that don't want to believe just don't want to believe. That's just what it is. But keep the next paragraph says, the Bible's high standard of hygiene even involve mental health. A Bible proverb said, a calm heart is the life of the fleshly organism, but jealousy is rottenness to the bones. In recent years, medical research has demonstrated that our physical health is indeed affected by our mental attitude.
Amen.
For example, Dr. C.B. Thomas of Johns Hopkins University studied more than 1,000 graduates over a period of 16 years, matching their psychological characteristics with their vulnerability to diseases. One thing she noted, the graduates most vulnerable to diseases were those who were angrier and more anxious under stress.
Wow.
You ever known a person that was always negative about everything?
Man.
Always angry at everybody? Old sad cat.
They always sick.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You ever notice? You ever notice how miserable they are? Like we just read in this paragraph, bro. Like some people create their own mental health issues being this way.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I'm saying? Just like Proverb 14:30 says, a calm heart is the life of the fleshly organism, but jealousy is rottenness to the bones. Walking around with a negative attitude would only drain and exhaust you. Like,
Yeah, got to.
for real. Being jealous and envious is not healthy at all.
That take energy.
It's not. It's not healthy physically, mentally, or spiritually. Like, that's why it's a law that God gave us. He gave us that. You know how serious that law is? It was one of the laws mixed in with the ones that said thou shalt not murder and kill and steal and all those.
Yep.
You should not be jealous and envious and covet his neighbor's wife.
Just where I was going. That's exactly the street I was going.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how serious that law was as well. It was along the lines of those other ones that was very serious.
Oh, that's real. Even people that's listening to us talk right now, you got to know that when you angry and you arguing and you know what I'm saying, you can hook yourself up to the EKG machine or whatever them things is called. Your blood pressure is physically going up. Your stomach's getting nervous. You know what I'm saying? When it come time to even hold food or do whatever it is, you may have to always use the bathroom a lot. Got a bad ulcer. You know what I'm saying? The stomach will start bleeding and stuff with a bunch of chaos inside your life. You know what I'm saying? That is why the word of the Lord do say what he just said too, and to be slow to anger. You know what I'm saying? Because when you angry, you ain't making no rational decisions, and your body is not even holding it well. The body ain't meant to hold no whole bunch of, that's why laughter is some of the best medicine, they say. You know what I'm saying? You ain't supposed to be sad and tensed, and that's why when somebody massage you and they be like, oh man, you tense, because all your shoulders and stuff, your muscles and everything is just tense. You know what I'm saying? Because of anger and jealousy and all the other stuff that you got inside that you hoarding in. You know what I'm saying? About people that don't even care about what you jealous and angry about.
True. Going into the next paragraph, the subheading is, what does the Bible say? If the Bible is so accurate in scientific fields, why do the Catholic Church say that Galileo's teaching that the earth moved around the sun was unscriptural? Because of the way the authorities interpreted certain Bible verses. Were they correct? Let us read two of the passages they quoted and see. One passage says, the sun rises, the sun sets. Then to its place it speeds, and there it rises. According to the church's argument, expressions such as the sun rises and the sun sets mean that the sun, not the earth, is moving. But even today we say that the sun rises and sets, and most of us know that it is the earth that moves, not the sun. When we use expressions like these, we are merely describing the apparent motion of the sun as it appears to a human observer. The Bible writer was doing exactly the same. The other passage says, "You fixed the earth on its foundations, unshakable forever and ever." This was interpreted to mean that after its creation, the earth could never be moved. In fact, though, the verse stresses the permanence of the earth, not its immobility. The earth will never be shaken out of existence or destroyed, as other Bible verses confirm. The scripture, too, has nothing to do with the relative motion of the earth and sun. In Galileo's time, it was the church, not the Bible, that hindered free scientific discussion. So it was because of the way the authority figures of the Catholic Church interpreted certain Bible verses, they actually misinterpreted. You know what I'm saying? They misinterpreted Psalms 37:29 and Ecclesiastes 1 and 4. And that led them to respond to this dude Galileo the way they did, and they accused him of heresy when he was actually right. You know what I'm saying? He was the one actually right. But, you know, the church's argument was that, if you use the expression the sun rises and the sun sets, then that automatically means, that the sun was moving and not the earth. But like I said, people still use that expression today.
Yeah.
And we all know that it's the earth, not the sun, that's moving. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, Ice Cube even said it on West Side Connection, with the sun rises in the east, but it sets in the west. And
we basically, we basically describing it, like just how it looks to the human eye. Remember, just like when you was little, when you was riding in the car with your parents. Remember, you be riding in the back seat and you be looking up in the sky and you see the moon. You be like, "Hey man, Ma, why's the moon following us?"
Hey dog, you too?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's crazy.
Because it looks like that from our point of view.
Yeah.
But that's really not what's happening. Like, we moving, not the moon.
I used to look out the back window of the car too and tripping off and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but from the human standpoint.
Right.
All right, next it says evolution and creation.
Uh-oh.
It says, there is, however, an area where many would say that modern science and the Bible are hopelessly at odds. Most scientists believe the theory of evolution, which teaches that all living things evolved from a simple form of life that came into existence millions of years ago. The Bible, on the other hand, teaches that each major group of living things was specially created and reproduces only according to its kind. Man, it says, was created out of dust from the ground. Is this a glaring scientific error in the Bible? Before deciding, let us look more closely at what science knows as opposed to what it theorizes. The theory of evolution was popularized during the last century by Charles Darwin. When he was on the Galapagos Island, I think, in the Pacific, Darwin was strongly impressed by the different species of finches on the different islands, which he deduced must have all descended from just one ancestral species. Partly because this observation, he promoted the theory that all living things came from one original, simple form. The driving force behind the evolution of higher creation from lower, he asserted, was natural selection, the survival of the fittest. Thanks to evolution, he claimed, land animals developed from fish, birds, from reptiles, and so forth. As a matter of fact, what Darwin observed in those isolated islands was not out of harmony with the Bible, which allows for variations within a major living kind. All the races of mankind, for example, came from just one original human pair. So it's nothing strange that those different species of finches would spring from a common ancestral species. But they did remain finches. They did not evolve into hawks or eagles. Neither the various species of finches nor anything else Darwin saw proved that all living things, whether they be sharks or seagulls, elephants or earthworms, have a common ancestor. Nevertheless, Many scientists assert that evolution is no longer just a theory, but that it is a fact. Others, while recognizing the theory's problems, say that they believe it anyway. It is popular to do so. We, however, need to know whether evolution has been proved to such an extent that the Bible must be wrong. So I want to make sure we all understand, the theory of evolution, where it came from, and more importantly, how it contradicts the Bible. Now, evolution teaches that all living things evolved from a simple form of life that came into existence millions of years ago. This theory was made popular by a man named Charles Darwin.
Clown.
But the Bible, meaning God, says each major group of living things was especially created and reproduced according to its kind. So I just want to ask a logical question.
Talk to him.
Why would you believe? Who would you believe? You would believe man who was created or God who is the creator? This is common sense, bro. Like, have you ever seen a fish turn into a turtle turn into a monkey, or a monkey into a man? Never.
It don't even happen, bro. I mean, the only thing that got my mind thinking like this here, and I'm old enough to see. I'm from California, so this is pretty much home of the Impala. You know what I'm saying, on switches and hydraulics and all that kind of thing. That was done to that car. That's like somebody trying to tell you that it evolved from a 64 Impala out of an old lady's garage, you know what I'm saying, or off the assembly line, and then it got Dayton's on it and switches and paint and all that stuff, and it evolved into that. You know what I'm saying? Just all by itself. It don't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? God did what he did with every race of things, from every creeping little thing and all that, because you know how we know that too, because he told Adam to name all the stuff that he created. You know what I'm saying? So he couldn't sit up and name no tap. Once again, you'd have to believe it though. You know what I'm saying? So he named lions and tigers and this and that, or what, ants is called ants, or whatever is called whatever, because he made those things. Now, of course, you might say, hey, Keith G, but a caterpillar do turn into a butterfly. Still the same creature.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Just a different shade, almost kind of like what we'll be when we be with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're what we are right now, but when we be with him, it says we'll be just like him. You know what I'm saying? Don't even know what that is. We will change for the better or for his intent. But
exactly.
It didn't take him. And the last thing I'll say about it too, that's trying to discredit who and what God is. God don't have to wait for nothing to come about. He says, let there be, and there it is. You know what I'm saying? He ain't taking no tools and building nothing and doing all this stuff. He's doing it right on the fly. So when you even ask that dumb question, it sounds intriguing to everybody. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, for real.
Cut it out. If it ain't no chickens, it's a boy and a girl chicken at that, ain't finna be no egg. So the chicken was there first. Then they laid some eggs, just if you don't know. But, yo, man.
And like we said, like you said, I've never seen it. You've never seen it, and you never will. I have, however, seen human beings come from human beings.
Yeah.
I have, however, seen lions come from lions, and other animals come from
goats from goats.
I don't even understand how people are believing this theory. How I don't even understand how they have been allowed to teach this to our children in school as truth.
That part.
When they have provided zero evidence that this is truth. There's no truth to this theory. None whatsoever, bro. It is like I don't even understand how it's being allowed, but you see how they're pushing it into, you know what I'm saying, pushing it in here.
Yeah.
A lot of things is being pushed into the schools that have no business there.
No business at all, bro.
This thing, like, honestly, you don't even want, you don't, it need to be no sex education or none of that, because you don't want these people talking to your kids about that.
No.
Like
no.
They should be taught the basic things that they need. Like we were taught the basic things that we need to get through life. And they still didn't teach us like the right stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I don't want these people teaching our kids no sex. No, don't even
None of
really.
that.
Almost, it should stop just at math and English. You know what I'm saying? Learn them how to write and stuff like that. All this, even this science. Hell, my science project didn't work anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make a volcano, or one time we hooked up something. But even still in that, you know what I'm saying? They didn't even know what they talking about with that. But teaching kids sex right now, and this is what they doing to your children. They teaching them based on what their theory is. And anything goes in their world where we at right now. Look at your average commercial. But we'll get back to what we talking about. You know what I'm
it
saying?
says, next paragraph, it says, the subheading says, is it proved? How can the theory of evolution be tested? The most obvious way is to examine the fossil record to see if a gradual change from one kind to another really happened. Did it? No. As a number of scientists honestly admit. One, Francis Hitching writes, when you look for links between major groups of animals, they simply aren't there. So obviously is the lack of evidence in the fossil record that evolutionists have come up with alternatives to Darwin's theory of gradual change. The truth is, though, that the sudden appearance of animal kinds in the fossil record supports special creation much more than it does evolution. Moreover, Hitching shows that living creatures are programmed to reproduce themselves exactly rather than evolve into something else. He says living cells duplicate themselves with near total fidelity. The degree of error is so tiny that no man-made machine can approach it. There are also built-in constraints. Plants reach a certain size and refuse to grow any larger. Fruit flies refuse to become anything but fruit flies under any circumstance yet devise. Mutations induced by scientists in fruit flies over many decades foiled to force these to evolve into something else. So there you have it, just like we discussed, bro. It's no proof. The fossil records don't support none of this propaganda. You know what I'm saying? And you like, it's like, what happened to going off of proof?
Yeah.
Like that's out the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people had to make up they had to make up other lies when everybody was questioning about, no, but this don't make sense. They started making up other things, trying to change the theory around, and it still didn't make sense, because you can never make sense out of a lie.
Period.
Darwin's theory has never made sense. It's because it was a lie.
Straight up.
Period.
Straight up, bro. That's why I go back to this word once again, educated guess. Now look, man, I don't want you guessing about nothing that I got to take seriously. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Hey, is we going to go to the spot tonight? Yeah. Do they got guns? I guess. You know what I'm saying? Do we got security? I guess. Are we going to get paid tonight? I guess.
Yeah, I know.
You don't even want to go for that. You know what I'm saying? But scientists made up a word, hypothesis, so that they can justify them being wrong. You know what I'm saying? Or leave it open in the air. And we just straight went with it. Oh, the scientists say that it's like this. Well, they said it was gonna rain weeks ago. The rain we got yesterday is the rain they was talking about weeks ago.
They always say, I was surprised it rained that much though, because they always say it's gonna rain and it never do.
Yep. They don't know. They just This is their guesstimate, or they guessing. And they look, I ain't putting pressure on people for guessing about things, but don't guess about things that God doing. You know what I'm saying? If you can't come up with nothing, go ahead and just be like, you know what? Hey, look, because it would make no sense but once again, you'd have to believe this. For when the earth was flooded and Noah and his family, and God told him to make that ark and put the animals onto the ark 2 by 2. Why would God give that kind of command if they could just mutate again all over again? You know what I'm saying? If they could just mutate again. He wanted 2 of each kind so that they can procreate again. A giraffe gonna be with a giraffe. Needed. You know what I'm saying? And they was gonna make other little giraffes. A monkey was gonna be with the monkey. Go ahead, G.
And there's no need for evolution, because look how fast animals multiply though.
Oh man.
You ever
seen rabbits?
People.
Yeah, people ain't no joke too.
Look how fast people like none of that evolution was needed. God knew exactly what he was doing, man.
I was born from a woman, and that's how I got here. You know what I'm saying? I didn't just slime, in the corner of my cell and slime, and all of a sudden, at 10, I'm a person now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm something else till I'm little. Of course I was semen or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's just says the seed is getting to the human being.
That's all part of creation's process.
Yeah.
That's the creation process. That's normal. You know what I'm saying? Getting to the next paragraph, the subheading is the origin of life. Another thorny question that evolutionists have failed to answer is, what was the origin of life? How did the first simple form of life, from which we all are supposed to have descended, come into existence? Centuries ago, this would not have appeared to be a problem. Most people then thought that flies could develop from decaying meat, and that a pile of old rags could spontaneously produce mice. But more than 100 years ago, the French chemist Louis Pasteur clearly demonstrated that life can only come from pre-existing life. So how do evolutionists explain the source of life? According to the most popular theory, a chance combination of chemicals and energy sparked a spontaneous generation of life millions of years ago. What about the principle that Pasteur proved? The World Book Encyclopedia explains, Pasteur showed that life cannot rise spontaneously under the chemical and physical conditions present on the earth today. Billions of years ago, however, the chemical and physical conditions on earth were far different. Even under far different conditions, though, there is a huge gap between non-living matter and the simplest living thing. Michael Denton, in his book, Evolution, A Theory in Crisis, says, between a living cell and the most highly recorded non-biological system, such as a crystal or a snowflake, there is a chasm as vast, as absolute as it is possible to conceive. The idea that non-living material could come to life by some haphazard chance is so remote as to be impossible. The Bible's explanation that life came from life and that life was created by God is convincingly in harmony with the facts. See, this dude Darwin had a lot of holes in his theory that neither him or other evolutionists could fill. They couldn't make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't explain that if, this is how it did go down, what was the origin of life?
Exactly.
How did the first simplest form of life come about? You know what I'm saying? They couldn't explain. Their explanation was, they said, that a chance combination of chemicals and energy sparked a spontaneous Bro, it sounds like somebody made up when they was getting high, man.
Had to be.
He was smoking that good.
Or either licking some tree sap, you know how they back in there, or a frog belly, you know how they do?
Yeah. That sound like this sound like the words of a high man.
Got to be. So he wants you to believe that instead of believing when God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness. And it's saying right in his word.
But God knows exactly how it goes down because he calls it to happen. That is the very meaning of his name, Jehovah, because he causes things to happen. He causes things to become. So again, why would you believe? Like, who would you believe? Common sense. And what did the French chemist Louis Pasteur demonstrate, bro? He said that life can only come from pre-existing life. It only ever has.
Period.
You've never seen anything different.
And it still does. You still can't get, I don't care what you do, you still can't get nothing from nothing. Two pigs can't make another. Two male pigs can't make another male pig. Two women pig can't make another woman pig. Exactly. A male pig and a woman pig, they're going to make another pig. You're going to have bacon. Trust me.
There is no such thing as the Big Bang Theory.
Nah.
No Big Bang Theory. Propaganda to mislead the masses. That's all it is. And this was a very. I bet Darwin probably didn't even think this was gonna stick.
Word up.
Like, man, y'all still believing in it? And I was high, man. Y'all tripping.
But they liked it. They said, yeah,
Exactly.
we're going to go with, because on the reels, all jokes aside, dude was on my science book when I was a kid. He was on the front. You know, that's that thing with the man like this, and they got a circle around him, and he kind of like he flying and stuff.
Yeah.
Yo, that's the same cat. So they entrusted what this dummy done said and put that into all the curriculums of the schools and stuff like that. Had I paid attention, I'd be upset right now.
Yeah, bro. Truth. Next paragraph subheading says, why not creation? Despite the problems inherent in the theory of evolution, belief in creation is viewed today as unscientific, even eccentric. Why is this? Why does even an authority such as Francis Hitching, who honestly points out the weaknesses of evolution, rejects the idea of creation? Michael Denton explains that evolution, with all its fallings, will continue to be taught because theories related to creation invoke, frankly, supernatural causes. In other words, the fact that creation involves a creator makes it unacceptable. Surely, this is the same kind of circular reasoning that we met up with the case of miracles. Miracles are impossible because they are miraculous. Besides, the theory of evolution itself is deeply suspect from a scientific viewpoint. Michael Denton goes on to say, being basically a theory of historical reconstruction, it is impossible to verify by experiment or direct observation as in normal in science. Moreover, the theory of evolution deals with a series of unique events, the origin of life, the origin of intelligence, and so on. Unique events are unrepeatable and cannot be subject to any sort of experiment investigation. The truth is that the theory of evolution, despite its popularity, is full of gaps and problems. It gives no good reason to reject the Bible account of the origin of life. The first chapter of Genesis provides a completely reasonable account of how these unrepeatable, unique events came about during creative days that stretched through the millenniums of time. So the fact of the matter is, these scientists, these smart people again, have a hard time accepting the fact that God is real and God is always right, bro. They'll sit up and say, well, you know, like something intelligent definitely is behind this creation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they refuse to give the glory to God because they pride and arrogance. They refuse to acknowledge him as the creator of all things. And it's going, like, it's crazy because, you know, like, just the stuff they're putting out there is misleading a lot of people.
It really is, man. Because a lot of people are,
especially the
hungry.
people that already don't believe in God.
Yep.
That's basically what they leaning on, Scientology and, you know, like, things of this nature. You know,
you see, they coming with commercials now talking about you got a question, find this, and you know, look, man. You know, you can fool me with anything you want to, like, you know, tell me to come to the club and it's free before 10, or, you know, we have when selling hot wings, you know, 3 for, you know, as much as you could eat, and then you get down there, it ain't as much as you could eat. I could understand that if you're trying to fool me that way, you're trying to make some snaps, okay? But look, when they start fooling people about their salvation and the things that they need to believe in and that they God, this is almost like somebody telling you your parents ain't your parents. You know what I'm saying? After they your parents, because to keep it 100, wasn't nobody there when they was born. You know what I'm saying? So somebody could try to come through with all those kind of lies like that just to distort what you have going on. So, you know, when that's nothing from what I'm trying to say in a long way around it, as I'm saying it, that's straight from evil, bro. Period. Anything that contradicts what God, anything that even wants to oppose what God is doing, that's straight from evil. You know what I'm saying? I can understand you being inquisitive about something, you know, like, you know what, I really want to know how this goes down and that goes down. That's a different kind of questioning. You know what I'm saying? The questioning that these other people are trying to do is to find something to trip him up, just like the scribes and Pharisees did when Jesus was walking around in those days. Let's see what he does with this. Let's put this problem in front of him and see how he reacts to this. Not to look at for his deity and see how beautiful this being is or what he's doing, or to compliment it, but let's trip it up. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing they're doing right now, trying to say that the world that he made for us and he put us in it, that never happened. And not on this watch, they not gonna get that off, because we old enough to have seen and knew people from before that know it didn't go like this. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's forever gonna be a fight with them until this thing is over, because I know the agenda that y'all pushing, and I know what y'all trying to do with this thing. You know what I'm saying? Make it seem like God don't exist. That's what we talk about this, not even on just this show. We talk about this on the daily. That's how this show got started, from us sitting up talking about this on the telephone. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going down like that in Jesus' name, because, you know, tricking the people is something that the enemy want to do, and he's using these people in high places. Even spiritual wickedness in high places is going down right now, the lawmakers and everything else with it. So
true. You know what I'm saying? Next paragraph, the subheading is, what about the flood? Many point to another supposed contradiction between the Bible and modern science. In the book of Genesis, we read that thousands of years ago, the wickedness of men was so great that God determined to destroy them. However, he instructed the righteous man Noah to build a large wooden vessel, an ark. Then God brought a flood upon mankind. Only Noah and his family survived, together with representatives of all the animal species. The flood was so great that all the tall mountains that were under the whole heavens came to be covered.
Yep.
Where did all the water come from to cover the whole earth? The Bible itself answers. Early in the creation process, when the expanse of the atmosphere began to take shape, there came to be waters beneath the expanse and waters above the expanse. When the flood came, the Bible says, the floodgates of the heavens were opened. Evidently, the waters above the expanse fell and provided much of the water for the inundation. Modern textbooks are inclined to discount a universal flood. So we have to ask, is the flood just a myth, or did it really happen? Before answering that, we should note that later worshipers of Jehovah accepted the flood as genuine history. They did not regard it as a myth. Isaiah, Jesus, Paul, and Peter were among those who referred to it as something that really happened. But there are questions that have to be answered about this universal deluge. Now, you know, the Bible tells us that, you know, years ago, the men had became so wicked and violent on the earth that he was like, okay, they got to go. I regret making y'all. I should have never done it, you know. But then he took notice of a humble man by the name of Noah, and he instructed him to build this ark and to take him, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives.
Yep.
And to go collect, you know, male and female of every species, of every animal, you know what I'm saying? And after that, you know, God caused it to rain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yep.
Until the whole earth was submerged up under water. Now, some have asked the question, where did the water come from? And it tells us in the Bible, in the scriptures, you know what I'm saying? It said in Genesis 7:11, it says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on that day, all the springs of the watery deep burst open, and the floodgates of the heavens were open. So God opened the floodgates of the heaven.
Yep.
And there you have it. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, they never taught us about a universal, like a universal flood in school. So many people deleted this whole story. It's just a, you know, it's a myth, or old folk tale or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a story you kick around every now and then, but no.
Yeah.
But you know, but all of God's people, even his people back then, always looked at this as something that actually happened, because there's proof.
Oh yeah.
There's been proof. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's just a lot of people that they even haven't considered the proof. I bet out of the majority of people that don't know, I bet if they considered the proof, I believe that half of that number of the majority would go down.
Yeah.
Because some people just ain't gonna do it like that. Some people just don't want to do it. But I think a lot of those people that don't know, if they knew, They would change. That's why it's God, you know what I'm saying? It's good God judge people's hearts, like for real.
Yeah.
He know.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, bro. So it's real, bro. You know, there is proof to everything we've talked about in this book. There's proof, and I hope y'all been taking notes. I mean, you can go back and look at the
video
episodes and take your notes off there, but like take notes and go prove it yourself of everything we say.
Yeah.
Don't just sit here. Don't just sit here and say, I heard it from their podcast. No.
And I want to correct something since you just said that too, and we go right back to we going to. But whoever the person that did tell me about when they were saying that Abraham wasn't circumcised, because I did say on the other episode when we was talking about, I believe, the cross, and I said Abraham wasn't circumcised. Forgive me for saying it like that, because I didn't not mean it to say it like that. And thank you for correcting me too. But what I should have said that Abraham's righteousness was not accounted to him because of his circumcision. That's where what I wanted to say. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad you did study. You corrected that. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. And that's what I was really trying to say. Abraham was not accredited to righteousness because of his circumcision, although he was circumcised. So, thank you, though.
Going to the next paragraph, it says the flood waters. Subheading, it says, first, it's not the idea of the whole earth being flooded too far-fetched. Not really. Indeed, to some extent, the earth is still flooded. 70% of it is covered by water and only 30% is dry land. Moreover, 75% of the earth's fresh water is locked up in glaciers and polar ice caps. If all this ice were to melt, the sea level would rise much higher. Cities like New York and Tokyo would disappear. Further, the New Encyclopedia Britannica says, the average depth of all the sea has been estimated at 3,790 meters, 12,430 feet, a figure considerably larger than that of the average elevation of the land above the sea level, which is 840 meters, 2,760 feet. If the average depth is multiplied by its respective surface area, the volume of the world ocean is 11 times the volume of the land above sea level. So if everything were leveled out, if the mountains were flattened and the deep sea basins filled in, the sea would cover the whole earth to a depth of 1,000 meters. So the idea of the earth being completely submerged in water, it's not that far-fetched at all. It can happen. It could happen right now. They said if all those circumstances change, it could happen right now. So it's definitely possible. So if it's possible that way, why can't God make it happen? Again, this is his universe, y'all. Come on, don't never say he can't do nothing.
Word, I mean,
that's a big mistake.
Y'all go to Vegas and you watch David Copperfield, who's that other dude to be doing tricks, Chris Angel or somebody like that, or one of them cats.
Dave Blaine.
They doing him too. They doing all these things and y'all like, ooh, wow. And y'all think this dude done did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God, Jehovah, our King, our Lord, he ain't even one of these dudes that's just regular. These dudes still gotta know, they know inside they ain't did nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is our Father who's trying to share how he get down, man. He's all powerful. When he wants something to be done, he speaks it out and it's done. He's not let me make this cup. Let me make that. Let me speak this out. That's how he do. He's just supreme. You know what I'm saying? Forget what that rightness on that handbag. He's supreme.
And those dudes doing magic.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with God.
Nothing to do with God. Yeah, because you seen how Pharaoh's cats was trying to do magic too. You know, when Moses went down there.
Yeah, that's the kind of magic they doing.
Yeah, it didn't work. It's just, you know what I'm saying? They cut it out, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
God got all power, man. The main thing of this stuff is just, and we still going to go through things because there may be people who is, agnostic or whatever they call themselves, atheists or whatever it is. So, it is a pleasure to try to put information out there that could change you, because we do pray for that kind of situation, that everybody's mind changes and realizes that God is the true and living God. You know what I'm saying? And he's royal and he wants us to be a part of his life. You know what I'm saying? That's what he sent his son for, so that we can have a part of this whole thing with him. He ain't trying to just sit up and destroy us. But at the same time, you can't act like you the head of the household when you ain't the head of the household. Don't be trying to come sit in that big chair. Don't be trying to come eat the big piece of chicken. You can't do that in somebody else's house. Show respect and reverence for God and everything that he's made for us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of denying it and saying it didn't happen, because you're going to have to see him one day.
Right. And you know, and again, it's not too far-fetched, because like we said, you know, if these conditions happen on the earth would be totally covered. You know, I mean, and we can see today just from global warming that the sea levels has risen.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I found an article written by a lady named Rebecca Lindsay titled Climate Change, Global Sea Level. And the beginning of the article says, global means sea levels has risen about 8 to 9 inches, 24 to 27 centimeters since 1880. The rising water level is mostly due to a combination of melt water from glaciers and ice sheets and thermal expansions of seawater as it warms. Not too far-fetched at all. And like it was brought into the paragraph before this one, Jesus, the Apostle Paul, and Peter, and Isaiah all referred to this event as something that happened. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? So, like, that article basically tells us, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, due to global warming, the stuff that's melting, the sea levels are starting to rise. So, if this continues, what do they always say? Oh, it's, in 10 years, you know, this city might be gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not impossible. And God ain't even got to touch it, and it's possible. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the coldest part of what we're trying to say right now. Even if it's not possible to our little bitty mind states, that's why Jehovah's Jehovah. Because he do stuff outside of time. See, he ain't wearing no watch like we do. He's able to step inside of our time and step out of our time.
Exactly.
Our little minds ain't going to rationale the things that he can do. And really, it just should be admired. That's what scientists, you should just take a day off, other than doing your other science stuff of trying to, you know, figure out things that are useful down here on this planet. But when you try to put your magnifying glass on God, you should cut it out. You should be smart enough to know that this ain't gonna work.
Exactly. Truth, man. Next paragraph says, for the flood to have happened, the pre-flood sea basins would have had to have been shallower and the mountains lower than they are now. Is this possible? Well, one textbook says, where the mountains of the world now tower to dizzy heights, oceans and plains once millions of years ago stretched out in flat monotony. The movements of the continental plates caused the land to both rear up to heights where only the hardest of animals and plants can survive, and at the other extreme to plunge and lie in hidden splendor deep beneath the surface of the sea. Since the mountains and sea basins rise and fall, it is apparent that at one time the mountains were not as high as they are now, and the great sea basins were not as deep. So if we did all the research and connected all the dots to this event, and we weighed out all the facts, no doubt we would come to the conclusion that the same conclusion that the apostles and Jesus came up with, that this global flood really happened.
Oh yeah. I mean, if there was a bunch of giants walking around right now, then it didn't happen. But you'd have to believe that too, because the Nephilim were on the planet Earth at this time. You know, fallen angels was having sex with some of the ladies, and it happened like that. And they created giants and all kind of morphed men, if you would say. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Men with super capabilities and super size. Yeah. And they was doing whatever they was wanting to do down here.
Yeah.
With no thought process of God at all. Kind of like how we going back to right now, where the whole place is looking like he ain't here, taking his word out of this and that. So this is what God came up with to rid that, because he was like, I don't even want y'all going through it. Imagine how we be trying to live down here. You think the cops is something. Imagine the 9 feet people. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
whooping. Yeah.
Dog, we wouldn't have
dudes around.
You got a shot.
Lord.
You ain't got no shot.
Give me your sandwich.
But he helped that for us, even when men grieved him. That's how merciful he is. He put a family of, 5? 3 boys and his wife and their girls. He put a one family that did look at God as like, I believe you. You see, because even at that time, it hadn't rained. So all the people looking at Noah, like, finna rain. What you building a ship for? They don't even see a purpose for it because they just so wicked. They don't think nothing can ever happen. But it did rain that day, and it rained for 40 days, 40 nights. You know what I'm saying? And those people there was nothing that they could do. You know what I'm saying? And believe me, even in that don't bring no smile to God's face to have to destroy something that He created.
Yeah. That's
but
true.
This is what happens when men get outside themselves. And just like what we talking about today with these scientists and people who, as old folks used to say, you're too big for your britches. So sit down somewhere, understand what's really going on. You know, we ain't come from ourselves. It ain't man that made ourselves. We don't even know what to do. The earth been around for a long time. We still don't know how to govern the people correctly because hate is in your hearts and stuff like that. Non-belief. And this is what happens. Mm-hmm. You're looking for the key to the problem. It's non-belief in any of these things. God left everything He did that He wanted us to see in these 66 books right here, from the beginning to the end. That's why Genesis means the beginning, all the way to Revelation, where everything will be revealed.
Yes, indeed. Next paragraph says, what must have happened to the waters of the flood? Explain. What happened to the flood waters after the flood? They must have drained into the sea basins. How? Scientists believe that the continents rest on huge plates. Movements of these plates can cause changes in the level of the Earth's surface. In some places today, there are great underwater abysses, more than 6 miles deep at the plate boundaries. It is quite likely that, perhaps triggered by the flood itself, the plates moved and sea bottom sank, and the great trenches opened, allowing the waters to drain off the land. So, scientists believe that the flood waters drained into the sea basins, and that's what allowed the water to all drain from the earth, But it's crazy, bro, because like God is. I find this interesting because God is, all powerful, and He really don't have to explain to us none of this stuff. How none of this stuff happened, but He's chosen to do this so we wouldn't be in the dark about certain things, But yet, it's still people that try to say that it's not true when can't nobody else give us this information. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a slap in the face. Period. It's like a slap in the face. People, it's just like people just choose to go about their own lives and make their own laws and think they got it all figured out. But none of us do. Not one of us.
See, even the stories that they told us as kids, and these, the ones they try to teach us in school, I grew up to find out those was lies. I know now Columbus wasn't discovering nothing. He lost in trying to find himself something to eat and some shelter and stuff too. So, we can figure out things that ain't going to stick. You know what I'm saying? Those is something that's found out. And I never even been to the places he been to. I don't even know if he was over here. I don't know where he was at. But that's what they told me in school. You know what I'm saying? They tried to put that and cram that down me. Now, they didn't teach me any of the things about the Bible in school because those things is true. And those things may mess around and have a good effect on my life.
No truth. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they wanted to keep us wild, keep us unruly. You know what I'm saying? Keep us dedicated just to a state. That's the furthest they went to as far as worship, doing the flag thing and, singing that song or whatever it is. But that don't help nobody, man. Yeah. When you make these lies up and stuff like that, people, they go into society thinking that that's true. But I thank God for His word because it's going to come through anyway. You can try to hide it. You could try to discredit it. You could try and do anything that you can, but it's still going to shine. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that it did because I needed it. I grew up to know that I needed His word. I needed to believe these things, not to believe in them because this is what's going to work for my life to make it the best in life. I'm not looking for that. I needed to know the truth, who my Lord was for real. You know what I'm saying? And the things, so I could appreciate the things that He did. The whales, the birds that I got birds that by my window, man, they wake me up. They don't wake me up, but they come and sing every morning, but they singing to Him. They ain't singing to me. but I'm able to see those kind of things. I'm not gonna throw that off and say that that's a drone. You know what I'm saying? Or discredit it to be, oh man, that bird just doing this and that. Man, hey, he was, last thing I'll say, he was dead serious when he said them birds have no place to shop, but they build houses and they're fed every day. He feeds them every day. They ain't got no place to go to make no materials. They make nests. That's what they do. It's in them to do it. We men that he made, and we don't act like what we supposed to act like because we don't believe that the God that made us. We think we hatched here, and that's a shame when you don't realize what created you.
Yes, indeed. Moving on, it says, traces of the flood. If we grant that a great flood could have happened, why have scientists found no trace of it? Perhaps they have, but they interpret the evidence some other way. For example, Orthodox science teaches that the surface of the earth has been shaped in many places by powerful glaciers during a series of ice ages. But apparent evidence of glacial activity can sometimes be the result of water action. Very likely, then, some of the evidence for the flood is being misread as evidence of an ice age. Similar mistakes have been made. Concerning the time when scientists were developing the theory of ice ages, we read, they were finding ice ages at every stage of the geologic history. In keeping with the philosophy of uniformity, careful examination of the evidence in recent years, however, has rejected many of these ice ages. Formations once identified as glacial moraines have been reinterpreted as beds laid down by mud flows, submarine landslides, and turbidity currents. Avalanches of turbid water that carry silt, sand, and gravel out of the deep ocean floor. So these scientists found a lot of, they found evidence that of the flood, but they've actually found this evidence, but they misinterpreted it. You know what I'm saying? And and they said it's an ice age, and it's very reasonable, that they definitely misinterpreted, because scientists are, they're human beings. And they make mistakes all the time, just like we said earlier, they make mistakes. And throughout history, they've always had to go back and change their theory. And, once sufficient evidence was provided, they had to go back and change their original thought to their theory, So, and that's why what they say is never 100% reliable. It's never, But again, the Bible has never been proven wrong.
Never will.
And it's always been 100% reliable. Like we finding out now, the Bible has told us things way before man could prove it.
Yep.
That alone. Them dudes back in the day, like they didn't have no rocket ships. All they could do was sit back and look at the stars. They had no idea what shape the earth was. Like we said, they thought it was flat. They thought if they walked to the edge, they'd fall off. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just, they misinterpret a lot of things. That's why so many people misled, because a lot of things was misinterpreted about the scriptures. And a lot of people purposely did it.
Yep.
Some people did it to oppress people. Some people did it because they thought they knew, but they don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot out there, but it's the truth is definitely out there. The truth is definitely out there. You got to search.
Always.
You got to search for it, man. Moving to the next paragraph, it says, another evidence for the flood appears to exist in the fossil record. At one time, according to this record, great saber-toothed tigers stalked their prey in Europe. Horses larger than any now living roamed North America, and mammoths foraged in Siberia. Then, all around the world, species of mammals became extinct. At the same time, there was a sudden change of climate. Tens of thousands of mammoths were killed and quick frozen in Siberia. Alfred Wallace, the well-known contemporary of Charles Darwin, considered that such a widespread destruction must have been caused by some exceptional worldwide event. Many have argued that this event was the flood. An editorial in the magazine Biblical Archaeologist observed, "It is important to remember that the story of a great flood is one of the most widespread traditions in human culture. Nevertheless, behind the oldest traditions found in Near Eastern sources, there may well be an actual flood of gigantic proportions dating from one of the pluvial periods many thousands of years ago. The pluvial periods were times when the surface of the earth was much wetter than now. Freshwater lakes around the earth were much larger. It is theorized that the wetness was caused by heavy rains associated with the end of the Ice Age. But some have suggested that on one occasion the extreme wetness of the earth's surface was a result of the flood." So, these paragraphs in themselves bring out all the sense that needs to be brought. It's really not too much to elaborate on, because it's like, at this point, all the evidence, you know what I'm saying? All the evidence is that with these scientists that don't believe in creation, all they're pushing is propaganda.
Yeah.
And they even admit that there's holes in this whole evolution thing. It's holes in it, but we're gonna still roll with it though, because everybody's doing it. Everybody's trying it, so we're gonna try it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, people roll with popular opinion, even today.
Yeah.
Even today, something goes out on the internet, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
People's lives get ruined because a lie is told and everybody believes it, and it ruins people's lives. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The same thing, and it's worse today because we have this thing called technology, and we have social media, these sites that people actually live out their lives on. They live out their lives on social media.
Yeah. You know what, Craig, too? I wonder how many even scientists, because you know what? I don't want to put this bag on all scientists that they're not looking for truth.
Some believe in God, though.
Because some scientists are looking for truth, and they're looking to be proven wrong. That their theory is not there. But I wonder how many of them have been stifled or hushed. You know what I'm saying? I learned that word when I had a summer school one time. He said, "Stifle the noise." I said, "What that mean?" He said, "Be quiet." I said, "Oh, man, I like that." But how many have been stifled or, knocked off because they found different truths that didn't go along with the narrative that they pushing on their media for the world? You know what I'm saying? Because if you find out, ain't nowhere in the world that some of these dudes, it's like when you already know somebody, guilty or whatever it is, and you just don't say nothing, just let it roll. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way it is, or that's the way that the whole culture is going with it. So you just let it roll. Some of these dudes know the truth. Like, no, I know, I looked it up. I'm a scientist, man. And I know that this ain't right what we preaching or what we telling, or the propaganda, like you said, is going out. But that propaganda is necessary to continue to keep people in the dark and to continue to keep people away from God. And it ain't even nothing worse than away from God. I don't even got a word for after that.
Sure. So let's move to the next paragraph. The subheading says, "Man did not forget." It says, geology professor John McCampbell once wrote, the essential differences between biblical catastrophism, the flood, and evolutionary uniformitarianism are not over the factual data of geology, but over the interpretations of those data. The interpretations preferred would depend largely upon the background of the presuppositions of the individual student. I think that's the word. I don't know.
Sound like it.
That the flood did happen is seen in the fact that mankind never forgot it. All around the world, in locations as far as Alaska and the South Sea Islands, there are ancient stories about it. native pre-Columbian civilizations of America, as well as aborigines of Australia, all have stories about the flood. While some of the accounts differ in detail, the basic facts that the flood did happen is seen in the fact that mankind never forgot it. All around the world in locations as far as Alaska and the South Sea Islands, there are ancient stories about it. Native pre-Columbian civilizations of America, as well as aborigines of Australia, all have stories about the flood. While some of the accounts differ in detail, the basic fact that the earth was flooded and only a few humans were saved in a man-made vessel comes through in nearly all versions. The only explanation for such a widespread acceptance is that the flood was a historical event.
Right.
Now, this is a very interesting point because the flood was an event that man in general never forgot about.
Right.
And this is very true, bro, because I read a book that was published by Jehovah's Witnesses called Mankind's Search for God. Very good book, you know what I'm saying? We may even get into some of the book here on the podcast, but this book broke down the different religions like throughout the world. And it talked about, you know, how all the different religions were started and, and what they and broke down what they all believe and what their primary beliefs were. And, and every last one of them had a version about the flood. Every last one of these religions, you know what I'm saying, like Buddhism, Hinduism, like they all got the same version of the flood. You know what I'm saying? It may have been like said differently, you know what I'm saying, but it pretty much played out the same way. So why would all these different religions and these different cultures all over the world have the same story of this, like the same story of this flood if it didn't really happen?
Word.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. That would be like them saying that the riots didn't happen, when a lot of people may have in different movies. There's movies that came out that kind of depicted a piece of that into their movie that happened in 92, talking about the 92 riots or whatever it is. Or there's videos that have that. So if you look at some of the videos from 1992, before April, you know what I'm saying? There's different people that would have it in there. So you see different people. So you like, how did they make that up if it's in those video, it's in this movie right here, it's in this guy's song, you know what I'm saying? These things are still out there as a part of those things. So even the people all knew that this thing happened, and it was documented by people that believed, that didn't believe, or whatever. If something happened today, a meteor came through or whatever it is, or something astronomical happened today, whether people believed in it or not, they're still going to document it into their situations. COVID happened 3 years ago is what I'm trying to say. But there's people that got movies coming out about it like right now. You know what I'm saying? Different kind of stuff like that COVID's inside of their movie. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a major thing that took place no matter what they was doing. So it is documented that all this kind of stuff happened, man. I mean, hell, people, I don't think they believe childbirth if they never seen a baby picture of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because we've gotten to the point where everybody's so skeptical because you're trying to...
I don't believe on me.
Dog, as funny as that sound, it's going to be some dudes that's really like, man, that ain't me, that's my avatar. Who knows how we speaking into the, of things with this technology that's coming about for the future and stuff like that. So, hey, man, the best thing I can say before we ain't done with it, but, man, people gonna believe something. People believe something every day. You know what I'm saying? Find some beautiful things. Find the things of God to believe in. Investigate that. Even if you're going on a search to discredit it, I invite you to even go on that, because if you're going to try to discredit it, you're not gonna find evidence, and you're gonna mess around and believe in God. So either trip.
Most definitely, man. Last paragraph of this chapter, it says, thus, in essential features, the Bible is in harmony with modern science. Where there is conflict between the two, the science evidence is questionable. Where they agree, the Bible is often so accurate that we have to believe it got its information from a superhuman intelligence. Indeed, the Bible's agreement with proved science provides further evidence that it is God's word, not man's. Now, like the realest sentence in this paragraph is where it says, where there is conflict between the two, meaning the Bible and modern science, the science evidence is questionable, not God's, not the Bible. That's the thing. We often let what man says override what God says.
Right.
And that's a big mistake. Like, we can't do that, man.
Nah, G.
We can't do nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And before we get up out of here, you know what I'm saying, I just want to say, like, when we sit back and we take a very close look at evolution and creation, and you meditate on it, it should be very easy for you to recognize which one of these are most logical and most reasonable. What makes the most sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, and the answer should be, if you are a civil-minded thinking person, God in creation, not man in evolution. That's foolishness. Think about this. Darwin's theory is this chaotic Big Bang happened, one bang after the other, and then all these things started to evolve, which makes zero sense, especially because they never found any evidence of this.
Yeah.
And scientists have admitted themselves that this universe and everything in it had to be created by an intelligent mind, and that's God. You have to understand the complexity of the universe, and you have to understand the complexity of creation.
Yeah.
You don't get that from Big Bang, poof, and everything is just obviously appears. And think about it. When you go outside in your downtown areas and you see all these big fancy skyscraper buildings, you don't say, oh man, something blew up in that big nice building, just bam, just appeared there.
A good example.
No, because we know that building had an intelligent designer to create the blueprint to build the building. The building didn't just happen by chance. The car you driving didn't just happen by chance, didn't poof out of nowhere. It took intelligent engineering to manufacture it.
Yeah.
And we have to remember, God says he made us in his image.
Yes.
So if he made us to be able to create and design things like airplanes and all this wonderful technology we got, why ain't he able to do it? He the one gave you the talent to be able to create.
Talk to him.
You know what I'm saying? So everything created in the universe is perfect. God even created us to be perfect, and he vows to restore that perfection to us.
Oh yeah, one day.
You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is, don't believe that you're here by chance. God knows exactly what he's doing. He's showing us the way, and it's best to follow him, not man. They have it wrong.
Yeah.
And as you can see what's going on in this world, where it's going. The Bible said it's going from bad to worse. All these laws that they changing, it ain't for the better. That's what they'll tell you.
Yeah, it ain't got
It
nothing to do
works
with
better
that.
for our system.
That.
But how is it going to play out on the people? You know what I'm saying? So we got to believe what God say, that, you know, it's the main meat and potatoes of our show.
Yeah.
Every topic, you know what I'm saying? Every show. Because this is what needs to be heard, you know what I'm saying? And
Especially in these times right now.
especially in these times, man. And we thank y'all for joining us for another episode, the very first one of the new year.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hopefully we get another one out to y'all, you know, this week. And man, remember, it's 2023, but the truth is always talking.
Just gotta shut up and listen.
Shh, quiet.
Truth talk, let the truth talk, truth talk.
You just gotta listen.